There was a time when the idea of a Ferrari motorhome would have sounded like satire, something imagined by a designer after too much espresso. But here we are, in a world where the ultra-wealthy don't just want performance, they want to travel with it. And the 2027 Ferrari motorhome feels like the inevitable answer to a question nobody asked out loud but many were quietly waiting for. What struck me first wasn't the performance headline, although yes, it's absurd in the best way. A hybrid twin-turbo V8 setup pushing somewhere in the 700 to 800 horsepower range isn't just impressive for something this large, it's borderline unnecessary. Yet Ferrari clearly wasn't interested in building a conventional luxury RV. Reports around the earlier version suggest it could sprint to 100 km/h in under 5 seconds, which places it closer to performance SUVs than traditional motorhomes. AOA Confluence +1. And honestly, that sets the tone for the whole experience. This isn't about practicality, it's about redefining what long-distance travel feels like when performance DNA is baked into the foundation. The driving character, from what I've gathered, feels less like piloting a bus and more like commanding a grand touring machine that just happens to have a living suite behind you. Ferrari's adaptive suspension and hybrid drivetrain, derived from their racing and GT technology, are designed to keep things composed whether you're cruising highways or carving through mountain roads. AOA Confluence. That might sound like marketing fluff, but the idea of regenerative braking and electric-only silent cruising at low speeds is genuinely interesting. A motorhome that can glide into a campsite without waking the entire valley feels like a subtle but meaningful shift in how luxury mobility is evolving. Step inside and the tone changes again, not softer, but more architectural. It doesn't feel like a vehicle interior so much as a Milan apartment designed by someone who happens to love lap times. Hand-stitched leather, carbon fiber elements, and OLED smart panels aren't surprising at this price point, but the way they're integrated into a flexible living space is what stands out. There's talk of retractable beds, spa-style bathrooms, and even sky roof lounge areas designed for stargazing. BK Times. That last detail feels particularly Ferrari, indulgent, slightly theatrical, and not entirely necessary. But it's the kind of flourish that makes the whole thing memorable. From a market perspective, this motorhome feels less like a product and more like a statement. Ferrari entering lifestyle mobility is not just about expanding into a new category, it's about defending relevance in a world where luxury is shifting from ownership to experience. Traditional hypercars sit idle most of the time. A performance motorhome doesn't. And that's the strongest point of this machine, it blends emotional appeal with usability. You're not choosing between speed and lifestyle, you're carrying both with you. But there's a weak point too, and it's unavoidable. No matter how much engineering wizardry Ferrari throws at it, physics remain stubborn. A vehicle of this size will never feel as agile or alive as the brand's sports cars. Even with active suspension and torque vectoring, there's an inherent disconnect between Ferrari's traditional identity, lightweight precision, and something built to house a kitchen and bedroom. It doesn't dilute the experience, but it does change it. One unexpected detail that keeps resurfacing is the integration of AI-driven cabin systems that learn user habits, from climate preferences to route choices, adjusting the living environment automatically. That moves the motorhome closer to a personal ecosystem than a vehicle. It's less about driving somewhere and more about relocating your comfort zone. Customer-led network revolution. In some ways, this is Ferrari acknowledging that speed alone isn't the ultimate luxury anymore. Time is. Freedom is. Mobility is. And maybe that's the most interesting takeaway. The 2027 Ferrari motorhome doesn't feel like a compromise between performance and practicality, it feels like Ferrari quietly admitting that the future of prestige isn't just about how fast you arrive, but how well you live along the way.